Good afternoon. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. My name is Zach Posner. I'm a co-founder and a managing partner at the LegalTech Fund. I am thrilled and honored to have our good friend Iago, who is a co-founder and CEO of Qanlex, joining us today for a couple minutes. Iago, I don't know if you realize you guys were one of our first investments, and it's been a few years now, but still as excited to chat with you every time we get on the phone. So thanks for being here.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you for the time, and we're very honored to be part of the LegalTech Fund.
So before we dive into Qanlex and LegalTech, and we want to get to know some of the entrepreneurs a little bit. So can we start with just a fun, simple question? Like, if you weren't working in legal tech or in fintech, as you may think about it, what other industry or role do you think you'd be passionate about?
I think I'd have to say education. I'm hyper rationalist, and I have a very deep rooted problem with irrationality. And I think you save it with education. I think I'd be doing something around education.
Well, you can argue every challenge in this world starts with education. If you get that right.
Yeah. I think the fact that we have kids for 12 years and even a percentage of them comes out of that process thinking astrology is a thing can be solved with education.
Give us a surprising, I'm going to keep going down this path of you personally for a minute, but give us a surprising fact or something folks wouldn't know about you.
Used to be a ski instructor when I was young. Far cry from litigation finance. Yeah.
Do you get to go skiing now at all, or not as much as
not so much in the last couple of years, but I'll sure be back someday.
Awesome. And on that note, if you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would you be?
Luckily, Madrid, where I am. Madrid 2025. Place to be.
That is pretty awesome. So let's jump over to Qanlex and the construct of litigation finance. It's traditionally been complex. It's opaque. It's not necessarily, from our end, I kicked off our event last year and I said, every piece of litigation is an asset for somebody, a liability for somebody, but there's not a ton of financial markets that have been built up around this. How'd you get into this, and what'd you think about it, and how do you think about this space?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. I think part of the problem is the lack of data, right? That people usually have. You ask a lawyer, hey, how long do you think this case is going to take? And he might tell you 2 years because he had in his history a few similar cases that took around 2 years. And then you give the same case to a different lawyer and he might tell you, oh, this type of cases, these take like 8 years because he had a couple of cases that were similar and took up to 8 years. So I think the problem with that is that we're predicting with a human head and a population of 3. But what we are doing differently, I think, bringing transparency is we have all the past cases and we're trying to predict with that. And how I got into that was precisely that. I still am an engineer. I have an MS in automation. I was a developer, and my co-founder, who's a lawyer who has an MS in applied economics, brought to me litigation finance, and we said, let's add a layer of tech on top and grab all this data and try to predict both outcome and length for all these cases, and let's try to do it better than the aggregate maybe. And I think a good comparison I like is when Uber or the apps for moving around the city came about, you had the cliche classic cab driver who tell you, no app is going to tell me where to go. I know the city better than anyone. And fast forward, and that obviously makes no sense. And I think there's something that could be similar happened in the past few years around litigation finance, where you have lawyers who are the experts for sure, feeling like their personal experience is a better predictor than the added data around there.
So yeah, and I think that this whole data movement is certainly happening. Where do you think we are on the scale of saying, hey, there's this like efficiency versus non-efficiency? Like, do you think we're just getting started? Like,
yeah, I think this we're stepping into maybe big questions that I might just opine. But speaking of litigation finance, I think we're getting a lot of the proceeds already, right? Because, for example, the way we operate, what we do is we try to find those cases that seem most attractive, and our software automatically contacts them. So even if we are at 98% effective, it still means we contacted 98 of the best 100 cases. So we might have not contacted the 102, and we might have miscontacted the 98th. But you always want to be more efficient, and we're always striving to better our models and be more efficient. But I think we're getting a good value as we are.
I'm guessing we met in 21. 20. Wow. You've seen this rise of LLMs and things like that. How impactful has it been, or has it not been that impactful? Is it like you guys were doing the core stuff that you eventually that you showed us day one? Are we just in a space that's so inefficient that you can start there? You know, that still gets you 90% of the way there.
Yeah, I agree. That still gets you. I don't want to say maybe 80% of the way there.
Yeah.
We're still. I mean, LLMs are not great for time series prediction, so we're definitely not using them there. But they have been extremely helpful for other stuff like smart search. We use it with our lawyers. We have it in our software for email writing and for contract understanding, whatever you would use. I mean, whoever is not using LLMs now in their process is kind of like when the calculator came out and you had accountants that used them, accountants that didn't. The savvy ones used it super fast, and the other ones still like pen and paper. But a couple of years down the road, they were all using calculator. And I think if it's not now, in a time we will all be using LLM. So the value add will come from how you use them and how you add them into your day-to-day operations.
So historically, you know, and really before we met you guys, like we thought of litigation finance as this tool for for plaintiffs, for corporates. We thought about this in like massive cases. Maybe like, you know, you guys kind of opened up our eyes to say, no, there's a lot of smaller folks that can be helped across the globe. You know, and there's actually a justice play around some of the work that you guys are doing. Can you maybe give a little context on what you guys do and how it differentiates compared to a lot of the other players out there?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a justice play for everything we do, right? So basically, I think what you're referring to is the fact that you might have a small business owner that has a meritorious claim against a bigger company, and they have to have the bad argument or the bad decision to make is, well, I have my working capital. Do I spend it to grow my business, to sustain my business, or do I spend it in lawyers to get what's rightfully mine? So I think what litigation finance allows you to do, or the alternative would be I have to get in debt to be able to pay the lawyers to get what's rightfully mine. And I think what litigation finance allows you to do is neither of the above, right? Let us take care of the legal costs so that you can focus on tires if you're a company that does tires, and you shouldn't be wasting your working capital in lawyers' fees. So, and that opened up a path towards justice for people that don't have the resources to spend them on justice, and they shouldn't be spending their resources on justice.
So you guys focus on Continental Law markets. Can you explain what that is for the folks in the US that may not be as close to this? And yeah, maybe that's the first.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll try to not to get my co-founder or all the lawyers in our team mad by me. Let me put my foot in my mouth as an engineer. But so the biggest difference, as I understand it, is common law is based on jurisprudence, and that's meaning what a judge said in the past. That's why, for example, in the US, you can get barred in one state and not in the other, because even though they might share similar laws, they have different jurisprudence. Their past is different. Continental law, however, is based on codes, on the famous Roman codes, the civil codes. So even though you might have different jurisprudence, if there's based on the same civil codes, it's much easier to predict what's going to happen.
And maybe give us a sense, how many countries are you operating in? And then maybe what would be really neat is if you tease a little bit of the scale, like how many cases are y'all looking at, how many on any given day, and things along those lines.
Yeah, absolutely. So we operate in 19 countries currently, which is basically all the big countries you can name in LATAM and the big countries you can name in Europe, in continental Europe. And we're extremely happy. As for the scale, we're about to finish deploying our second fund, which is a $30 million vehicle. and we're currently, I think we were speaking earlier, as we speak, we're negotiating about $17 million in deals, and which means if they all come through, we need to fundraise very fast.
But what about the number of cases that your technology
Yes.
is analyzing and things along those
Yeah,
lines?
it's quite impressive. So we've gone from, I think right now we're at 16 million cases screened for 70 cases invested, which gives you a sense of how much we're cherry picking thanks to the software. And this translates to 70 cases invested, and we've only lost once. So what conceptually I can explain as cherry picking, you can see empirically as a great success.
But say the first number again. How many millions of cases?
16 million.
For 7.
It would take a couple thousand lawyers, a couple of years. Yeah.
That is that is pretty awesome. And for this whole thing, past performance means nothing for the future. But what does success look like when you pick a case, and what like from return profile? What do you guys target?
Yeah, as you say, past performance doesn't represent future performance, although we're doing exactly the same. But for one cases in the past, we've had an IRR of 119, which is a multiple of around 3, more or less.
Wow, that is pretty awesome. So technology continues to advance. What happens with Qanlex in the next couple of years? And maybe if there's some larger vision as to where this goes over time, would love to understand both of them.
Yeah, I think I'm not one to do a lot of futurology, but I think as technology advances, we'll incorporate more and more of it into our operations. And I don't think we're at the point, or will anywhere near get to the point where we invest where software tells us. But what it does do, it makes us more and more efficient. So instead of having to have a team of 15 people, you might get away with a much smaller team. So what technology does is it allows the same group of lawyers to invest much more efficiently and a much more broader scale. And we continue to see this improvement every day with our software, and then third-party softwares we keep on using, but mostly our in-house software.
Iago, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to find you?
Through you, man, like most people.
Awesome.
No, yeah, I guess our information is out there. I'm happy to speak to anyone who might be interested.
Awesome. Well, I thank you so much for spending a few minutes with us, giving us a quick overview. Congrats on all the success. It's been amazing to watch you guys from, a simple idea, to a view on some software, to scanning millions of cases, to make some bets in the world. But congrats on all the success, and really looking forward and excited to future successes.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you for continued support, and always happy to chat.